Tonight, Attorney General expected to file charges within the next 14 days against individuals named in the Auditor-General's report on the 13th African Games, which uncovered 580 million Ghana cedis wrought in inflated contracts, phantom equipment, overpriced hotel rooms, and payment to Black Stars officials from the LOC accounts.
The magnitude is so shocking and staggering. It's almost like you had a group of people who sat down and found every way to milk money out of the system. By my mind, it could not just be these 3, 4, 5 people. There had to be a whole host of other people who were participating.
We have details as the Auditor General recommends recovery of the money from former Youth and Sports Minister Mustapha Ussif, former Chief Director of the former Chief Director of the Ministry William Kartey, and former LOC Chairman Dr. Kwaku Ofosu-Asare, the 3 men who run the show. We'll delve deeper into this particular matter coming up here on Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Enjoy holy sleep. And also by Shield Pension, trust into the future with you. This is live also on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, on ATL 100.5 in Cape Coast, Radio Max in Takrady, and several of our affiliates across the country. Now, government is expected to move into arrest and prosecute all individuals cited in the Auditor General's report on the 13th African Games, which flagged explosive inflated contracts, phantom equipment, overpriced accommodation, and LOC funds used to pay Black Stars officials. Now, the jaw-dropping revelations are captured in a 700-page audit report, which have since been forwarded to the Attorney General for study and action. Now, Ghana spent more than 2.2 billion cedis hosting the Continental Show piece, but the report says the country is still burdened with liabilities exceeding 218 million cedis. Now, the report by the Auditor General recommends recovery of the money from former Youth and Sports Minister Mustapha Ussif, former Chief Director William Kartey, and former LOC Chairman Dr. Kwaku Ofosu-Asare, the 3 men who ran the show. Now, we'll delve into this particular matter here on the show. My colleague Caleb Ziblim, who is our research desk, has been going through the report and joins us in the studio. Caleb, now let's look at, all of that. But before we go through the details of the report, what are we learning from our sources at the presidency?
So they tell us that they have already compiled a docket with the BNI, and then with the new Auditor General reports, they've compiled this with their already ready dockets from the BNI investigations. And the presidency has directed the Attorney General to head to court within the next 14 days. So within the next 14 days, we should be seeing some action from the Attorney General side of things, whether there will be arrests and prosecutions based on the 2023 All African Games, which was held in March 2024.
Interesting. Now, in terms of the big financial irregularities, what does the report say?
Yeah, so like you said earlier, the total figure involved is 580 million Ghana cedis. Now, if you go through the report, it shows that one of the biggest findings involve the infrastructure projects valued at more than 467 million Ghana cedis. According to the Auditor General, contracts for facilities such as the Boteman Sports Complex, the University of Ghana Stadium, and the Legon Sports Village were subjected to various multiple contract variation, extension claims, and scope changes that significantly increased costs beyond the original contract amount. Again, according to the Auditor General, JDK Travel and Tours, a company, was billed more than 45 million cedis for vehicle hiring services. But the auditor says that their benchmark checks show that there's possible overpricing of more than 13 million cedis for the car rentals. Again, the report also flags nearly 34 million cedis in unsupported catering-related expenses. And according to the Auditor-General, the costs such as staffing, utilities, logistics, and project management were added to feeding contracts without enough supporting documents or justification. And then finally, on the accommodation side, according to the reports, the accommodation contracts also came under scrutiny, and the Auditor-General says that GDK Travel and Tours charged about $150 per night, even though the market rates for the rooms at the time ranged between $50 and $70. So the total estimated inflated portion of the accommodation contracts stands at more than 10 million Ghana cedis. So altogether, these claims led to the total irregularity of 580 million Ghana cedis for the All African Games.
Now, beyond the financial issues, were there administrative or procurement breaches captured in the report?
Yes, so the audit also highlighted several procurement and administrative concerns. One of the major findings relates to the use of 55 single source contracts by the ministry and the local organizing committee. Now, the Auditor General says that many of these contracts lack proper justification, price comparison, or enough evidence to show how the suppliers were selected. The report also raises concerns about contracts worth more than 45 million cedis that did not go through proper competitive procurement processes. And then finally, another issue involved lump sum contracts for services such as accommodation, catering, transportation, and anti-doping activities totaling more than 336 million Ghana cedis. According to the reports, the records were inadequate, including no transport logs, no room lists, and no meal registers to confirm that the services were actually provided. The audit also points to possible related party concerns, where three companies, that's JDK Travel and Tours, the Lovely Company Limited, and Johnny Nass Company Limited, were allegedly linked to the same beneficial owner. And together, all these three companies received more than 150 million Ghana cedis. So these were some of the procurement and administrative breaches that was highlighted in the report.
Now, so what recommendations are being preferred against individuals in there? I mean, so want to find out what exactly, who exactly is being held liable in the report, and what actions are being recommended against these individuals.
So the audit report repeatedly recommends that there should be recovery of funds from key officials. Now, these include the former sports minister, Mustapha Ussif, the former chief director for the sports ministry, William Kartey, and then the former local organizing committee chairman, Dr. Kwaku Ofosu-Asare. Now, according to the reports, money links to overpricing, unsupported payments, overpayments, and irregular contract variations should be recovered from the officials involved. The auditors also recommend that sanctions under Section 92 of the Public Procurement Act for several procurement breaches, including the use of single source contracts and contracts without enough justification, must be followed through. And then beyond that, the report is calling for tighter procurement controls, stronger enforcement of the giftment system, and then clearer cost breakdowns for future contracts, and stronger conflicts of interest disclosures for major national projects.
The report also talks about some unrelated expenditure. Walk us through that as well.
Yeah, so a section of the report also spoke about some payments that were made from the LOC account or the accounts related to the Africa Games, but the payments were not for activities directly related to the African Games. So a total of 15 million Ghana cedis was made to individuals for expenditures related to the national football team, that's the Black Stars, and other supporting activities which are not related to the organization and hosting of the 13th African Games. We can see some payments of $240,000 to the Black Stars coach at the time, Otowado, another payment of $75,000 to Chris Houghton, and several other payments, another payment of $60,000 again to Otowado, another payment of $30,000 again to Otowado, and then $20,000 payments again to Otowado. So the total payments from the Africa Games account, which were not directly linked to the activities at the time, totaled 15 million Ghana cedis, and this came from the Africa Games account.
Grateful to you, Caleb Sibling there. We'll delve into the matters here on Top Story. This is Top Story brought to you by Telecel, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil, and Shield Pension Trust. Now, my colleague Mustapha Nabila with our Joy Sports team here joins me in studio. Mustapha, thanks for joining. Now, you and your team followed this tournament. If you listen to the expenditure in there, which of them really comes as a surprise to you?
I'm not too sure any of them comes as a surprise, but just to say that Joy Sports actually broke the story on AM this morning. But we first did the story yesterday. We've been privileged to have had the document since last week, and we were studying the document. We did the first story on Monday, and then earlier today, we raised it up on AM, and it was on SMS, then it's gone viral. So, based on what I have personally read from the forensic audit conducted by the Auditor-General, the only area that surprises me is the area for the technical team, because one of the things I knew about that was the fact that Otto was appointed head coach of the Black Stars in March. And if you follow through these payments, these were payments that were sent to Otto account from May all the way up to September 2024. So it's a bit surprising that the payment of coaches came from the LOC account. What I was thinking was that if the Ministry of Sports and Recreation did not have the money readily available to pay the technical team of the Black Stars, and they needed the local organizing committee to pre-finance that, then they could have paid the money back to the LOC account after they were able to get money. So it's a bit surprising that monies from the local organizing committee was used to pay the technical team of the Black Stars, which is quite humongous. You took a look at the figures.
15 million.
Yeah,
in total.
Chris Houghton got about $75,000. Fatal Dawda got about $9,000. The former assistant coach of the Black Stars, Joseph Lawman, got about $30,000. Just John Pinsel got about $60,000 and all that. So these payments are the only figures that are a bit surprising to me.
But these were their salaries, right?
They were salaries, yes.
But that shouldn't have come from the LOC account.
It shouldn't have come from the LOC. The ministry is responsible for paying the technical team members of the Black Stars. So if they didn't have money and they needed money to pay them, I'm sure if they ask the LOC to pre-finance while they reimburse them, that shouldn't have been a big deal. But if you don't reimburse, that is where I think it's a bit problematic. Yeah.
For you and from all that you've been following, I mean, how do you think this must be handled so that it serves as a lesson for us into the future?
Well, I wouldn't want to jump the gun, but based on what I've read, in fact, I've had the privilege of engaging some of the people who have been mentioned in the report, and it would interest you to know that they didn't even know that the report existed until I shared copies with them. So maybe they will study, they will have the opportunity to respond, but if the figures provided by the Auditor-General are anything to go by, they are quite huge, about 580 million. If it's not small money, it can do so many things for many people in this country. And I think that people should be made to answer if indeed some of the things the Auditor-General reported are anything to go by. Okay. I've had the privilege of reading the report that the local organizing committee submitted to the government of Ghana following the organization of the event. So that is why most of the figures being reported are not surprising to me, because if you read the financial figures that the local organizing committee put out there, I'm not taken aback one bit by what is being reported by the Auditor-General. Yeah.
Grateful to you, Mustapha Nabila there. They've been tracking this particular report for some time now. Let's go on the phone line and bring in Ernest Nogbe. He's Chairperson, Youth and Sports Committee of Parliament. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining. I'm sure by now you have access to this particular report. What's the committee doing about this?
Well, thank you very much and good evening to your listeners. Yes, I just got the report. I'm yet to read through and appreciate the content of the report as well as the recommendation. But by and large, this is not a surprise to the committee, because we have sat on this matter before. We invited the LOC chairman and the entire committee to Alisa Hotel somewhere last year, and we delved into matters, and we realized that the tangent they were going, the issues were enormous, and we decided as a committee to have a public hearing on the matter. And within the same week, His Excellency, the President John Dramani Mahama, directed that appropriate investigative authority should take up the mandate to investigate it properly. At that committee level, we have identified almost all the things that were captured in the report that your reporter is reporting as we speak now: over invoicing, catering services, single source procurement, overpricing, etc. I mean, no supporting document to some of the transactions. And these things were all done by only 3 people, as at the time we were investigating it. The LOC chairman, the minister, and probably, possibly, the chief director, as at the time we were looking at it. So we are not surprised at what the report has captured, because it's something that we have come out with. But unfortunately, what we need to do as we speak now, I just heard your reporter saying the president has directed that the Attorney General should take the matter up, and we are all waiting to see what will come out from that.
I mean, but what sort of responses did they give you when they came before you in terms of the over invoicing, the catering services, issues with the fact that you cannot even trace whether those services were rendered or not? What were their responses?
Definitely, you know that they will be at the defensive, and they will be giving flimsy excuses, such as probably it was the urgent nature of the process, and the people were, the activity started already, and so they needed to get someone to do A, they needed to get someone to do B. So it's all about giving flimsy excuses about the program being started before certain activities were brought on board, and so they have to resort to single source procurement, over invoicing, etc. In fact, there were a litany of issues that they raised concerning over invoicing, where one person probably would have brought in a contractor that, let's try to get this contractor, without even resort to procurement measures by adding, maybe requesting for more quotation from other competitors as well. And so when they were going on that tangent, members realized that no, this must be done in the public view. I mean, there should be public hearing on this matter so that Ghanaians will appreciate the matter very well. And unfortunately, within the same week, the president directed as such. So, in fact, we are not surprised about what we are seeing in the report, or what your reporters are reporting. But be it as it may, all that we need is that the matter should take its natural course.
And when you say it's natural course, what's your expectation, you and your committee? This is, it involves huge amount of monies.
Exactly. So the matter must go to the court. The court must look into the matter very well. And the committee is against, and at this point in time, we are against anything short of, or let's say we are against what we call the nomenclature now we call plea bargaining, where somebody will have to embezzle amount of money, go home, and they say, come and do plea bargaining, and then pay part of the money or pay the money and go scot-free. I can tell you that we are not in favor of that kind of approach. We want the thing to go the full haul at the law court. We are not to determine anyway, but that is our position, because it's becoming too many, where we are employing this particular tool to mitigate offenses in the country. People must suffer for their actions, and we want the matter to go to the full haul, and then the court should determine it. And people who are found culpable of the action must suffer the penalty.
Mr. Norbert, kindly stay with me. Let me bring in anti-corruption campaigner Adam Senano here. Mr. Senano, I'm grateful to you for joining. Now, you've spoken on this particular matter. Is this enough, or some other element would have to come into it to prove that, there's some culpability somewhere?
Well, the due process will still involve for example, the Attorney General doing the investigation, putting together the docket, filing the charges, and then holding you before a court. I was hoping that since this is a report that was generated much earlier, the report hopefully would have already been submitted to the AGs, and some of the work regarding putting together the dockets be done so that at the same time that we are discussing it, people could be held, charges could be filed, and people could be held before the courts. So no, it's not just sufficient to have the report from the Auditor-General. That report itself must be subjected to investigation to put together the docket for prosecution before one can actually properly hold and sanction the individuals involved.
You heard Mr. Nugwe there when he says when they met the people, the issue was about, the event had already started, and so we had to fast track things. When and what must happen for some of these things to end? And can we even end it at all?
No, I mean, that kind of response, I'm sure he will tell you, is neither here nor there. Our procurement policies, laws, give you the options to follow under different circumstances. If you follow those policies, guidelines, the laws strictly, you don't get yourself into this kind of situation. The sport ministry must have a procurement unit. That unit must have the data on the kinds of inputs, whether it has to do with football boots or nets, etc. This is not the first time we are organizing this event. So even if you're going to get people to provide food, etc., you have a database that will tell you what the market value is. If you suddenly have invoices that are 300, 400% of the market value, it tells you that the data wasn't used. And these are things that are standard. If you have contracts, before someone can go to the bank to go and cash money, somebody within the system, if it's generated by one office, either finance or legal, someone's going to say, yes, we've reviewed the contract, we've reviewed the policy, this particular request falls within the budget for this particular account that we are requesting the sum of money from. And you can't have a situation where monies were cashed out of accounts, out of budgets that were not supposed to cover those specific activities. I mean, you can't have a situation where the partners have provided money, the money is not paid into account, and yet they use the money and say, they were fast-tracking things. All of those are breaches of the law. So it's not about the legal framework, it's about enforcement, and that's the problem we've had over the years. You need leadership that is interested, keenly so, in enforcing the laws and having a strong sanction regime, the kind of regime where when you get caught and they punish you 10 years and so on and so forth, and not just the punishment in terms of the sanction, but recovering the amounts involved, that's asset recovery, and having a surcharge, a premium, because the time value of money must also be considered. That way we'll be getting results. We still haven't gotten there, and there's work to be done in that space.
I mean, so Mr. Nogwe proposes, or he says that there shouldn't be plea bargaining, for example, in this particular matter. Is this something you're saying as well from where you stand?
Oh yes, we already, even in our plea bargaining regime, was very confusing.
Unfortunately, but I'm sure that the lines will work better so we can get Mr. Senano back. He is with us via Zoom. Mr. Nogbe is still with us. Mr. Nogbe, I hope I still have you.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. So for you, what will be a disappointment for you in this matter?
My greatest disappointment, it will be a disappointment of the century, that there will not be a proper legal, let me say, that nothing will come out of this particular findings. That will be my greatest disappointment.
But the court is a court of evidence. So if the defense put up evidence and it then amount to their victory, will you still be disappointed when that is the law?
Well, yes, as I agree with you, the court is about evidence, and per what we at the committee level, we are not court in any way, but per what we have heard at the committee level and what we are seeing now, it appears at the committee level there were some admissions. And there were some admissions that because of ABCD, which my brother on the other side said already, that if you follow the rules of the game, you follow the law, especially the procurement law, you wouldn't have found yourself wanting in this matter. And so it might not be the basis. All the answers you were giving were not will not be the basis for which you should flout those regulations or those laws. And so there were certain admissions at the committee level. Yet I'm sure probably the Auditor-General report or the auditors might have not met the people one-on-one or whatever it is. But when you get to the court, they will have to adduce evidence. They will have to bring those, because under normal circumstances, you can't say that I did not have supporting document to a particular contract because of certain reasons. And if as soon as you admit that there are no supporting documents, it's tantamount to that provision being breached. And so therefore, I'll definitely be disappointed that nothing, absolutely nothing will come out of these particular findings.
I'm grateful to you, Mr. Nugbe, for joining us here. Mr. Serrano, do I have you back? Do I have Mr. Serrano back on the line? Mr. Adam Serrano is an anti-corruption campaigner, but you just heard from Ernest Nogbe, chairperson of the Youth and Sports Committee of Parliament. Do we have Mr. Serrano on the line? Okay, it looks like we don't have him here. Well, this has been Top Story here on Joy FM, also live on Love 99.5 in Kumasi. My name is Samuel Kojo. Brace up next is Newsnight, right after these.
There are many reasons to connect, and it's all to put smiles on the faces of those you love.
Daddy, thanks for the tea cash, okay? I love you.
That's my daughter, Angela. Caring for my parents, that's my duty. I also get to pay my utility bills easily with Telecel Cash. And to the suppliers at my shop,
hello, sir. Telecel Cash payment received right on time. Thank you.
I get to make them smile because I can pay to my suppliers' merchant numbers, even on other networks directly. My dear ones.
We keep the connection stronger when our family, friends, and business relations are happy. Live on cash, enjoy convenience, and make those who matter smile when you send them money with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana mada with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Enjoy homemade taste of Shito always with Didi Shito. Made with carefully selected ingredients, no preservatives, no colorants.
Preservative just helps us spice. That's how we taste. Spicy we eat.
Didi Shito, if you do need. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello everybody, welcome to Newsnight. Minority calls out government for double standards in what they describe as an attempt to introduce e-levy through the back door in the suspended 0.75% mobile money wallet to bank transfer charges by MTN.
We have a question for the finance minister. He must immediately come to Parliament on Thursday to explain the circumstances leading to the imposition of this 0.75% charges on mobile money transactions. We are not interested in the suspension. We are interested in how come, but for the public outcry.
We have details as they describe the John Mahama government's key election promises a scam.
We are simply saying NDC is a scam. It's a government of settings. They don't believe in what they say. I repeat, the NDC government does not believe in what it says.
Continuous cockpit, phone communication, engine failure, and poor maintenance practices emerge as key factors in Tema microlight aircraft crash that claimed 2 lives.
Pilots' personal activities were a possible source of distraction and interruption. These distractions, coupled with his lack of full access to the instruments and switches due to his seating position, would have been a challenge to his ability.
We have details as the report also reveals multiple aborted emergency landing attempts with chilling accounts. The school children on the ground mistook the pilot's distress signals for a routine wave.
The pilot was seen in an attempt to signal to school children playing on their school field to vacate the field to enable the aircraft make an emergency landing. Unfortunately, the school children misunderstood the intentions of the aircraft and happily waved back at the aircraft and continued playing on the field.
In business,
Mobile Money Fintech Limited promises to engage Bank of Ghana after being directed to freeze proposed fee on wallet transfers to bank accounts.
In sports,
Hatsofuk sacked Didi Dramani as head coach.
Also coming up, government's move to ban styrofoam use could cut Ghana's import bill by nearly $1 million annually. But how are businesses that depend on it in services production going to survive?
Before they will ban it, they should bring what you're supposed to use.
I think it's a good idea because the takeaway parks, I think it has been choking the gutters.
We give you details.
Also, government is ramping up its fight against human trafficking with a sharp focus on sports trafficking as cases rise of children lured abroad with fake football contracts.
Football and athletics continue to represent aspirations and opportunities for many young people and their families. Unfortunately, traffickers and exploiters are increasingly taking advantage of these dreams.
The latest of these and many other stories are coming up in the next 60 minutes. Feel free to be a part of the show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
I am Gemma Appiah.
Details now. And this evening, the minority in Parliament has called out the John Mahama government for double standard in what they describe as an attempt to reintroduce an e-levy through the back door. The levy in question is a 0.75% mobile money wallet to bank transfer charges announced by mobile money operator MTN. That directive has since been suspended by the Bank of Ghana for more stakeholder engagement, but Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin, in an address to the press in Parliament earlier, says the move only exposes the double standard on the NDC, who cancelled a similar levy by the erstwhile government.
They criticized the e-levy, and when they assumed office in 2025, they put in place a mechanism to abolish the e-levy. Ghanaians applauded them. They made all the argument against imposition of levies and taxes. But today, what do we see just after 1.5 years in office? I have in my hand a statement that has just been released by Bank of Ghana after the public had criticized the NDC administration. They are now purporting to say that they are suspending the levy. Meanwhile, they had earlier put out a public notice that from 1st of June, transactions from bank account to the wallet would attract a 0.75% Ghana cedi, 0.75% fees on direct wallet to bank transfers. According to them, they are doing this suspension for further consultation. The question is, what is further consultation in this context? Were these not the same people who, when in opposition, claimed that there must be constructive consultation before any policy is introduced and implemented? So what has changed? The worst part of it is that this time they did not even come through Parliament. According to them, they're using Mobile Money Fintech Limited as the vehicle for these hidden charges. So whereas in the Akufo-Addo administration, due process was followed, government made the announcement through the budget and came to Parliament for a law for the purposes of this levy, NDC is using the Bank of Ghana and a private sector company to enforce this levy. We have a question for the Finance Minister. He must immediately come to Parliament on Thursday to explain the circumstances leading to the imposition of this 0.75% charges on mobile money transactions. We are not interested in the suspension. We are interested in how come, but for the public outcry, they were going to spring this surprise on the Ghanaian public.
That's the minority leader there, Alexander Afenyo-Markin. Let's go on to Zoom right now and speak to our parliamentary affairs correspondent, James Aveji. James, the minority also described the NDC government as a scam. Why?
Well, Ken, right after addressing that issue about the charges, the minority leader went ahead to list a number of key government promises going into the election, including the establishment of a women's bank, the increase in utility charges, and others which the government promised to tackle when they come into power. He said the failure of government to do that in less than 2 years in power would mean that they have scammed Ghanaians into coming to power.
We are simply saying NDC is a scam. It's a government of settings. They don't believe in what they say. I repeat, the NDC government does not believe in what it says. It says one thing and does another. It doesn't keep its promise. It is a government of propaganda. They promised 1 job, 3 shifts. As we speak, they have failed on that 1 job, 3 shifts. They promised cocoa farmers that a bag of cocoa will sell at 7,000. They came and they have rather reduced it. At least they could have maintained the 3,100 that Akufo-Addo left. They promised the rice farmer that they were going to have a system to offtake the produce of the rice farmers. As we speak, it is even cheaper to buy imported rice than a locally produced rice. They have lost their policy on agriculture. Maize farmers are complaining, yam farmers are complaining, cocoa farmers are complaining. On electricity, within a year and a half of being in office, they have increased electricity tariffs by almost 30%, water 19%. As we speak, we know that Dumsor is back. They again do not have a policy in place to absorb our trained teachers and our trained nurses. They give one excuse after the other. To conclude, we are aware that they themselves promised Ghanaian women bank. They said they were going to establish a bank solely for women. They were going to give loans. What has become of that loan? We've not even seen the bank. We've not seen the bank, and people are desperate. They came and rather dismissed people who were lawfully employed, and more youths are sitting at home because NDC came into office and sacked them.
James, aside from this, the finance minister has been making some pronouncement on Ghana's debt status. Tell us more.
Well, Ken, the finance minister as well as other ministers presented some annual report on the floor today. Dr. Kasela-Tuforsen, for instance, presented the annual report on the management of the energy sector levy, the Petroleum Holding Fund, public-private partnership report, as well as the annual public debt report. Now, it is in presenting the annual public debt report that he said that they have worked in the last 1.5 months in order to lift Ghana from a debt-distressed country to now what he described as a moderate risk of debt country as we speak.
Mr. Speaker, the second one relates to the reconciliation report on the Petroleum Holding Fund for the year 2025. Right, Honorable Speaker, this happens to be an obligation imposed on us as part of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, that the minister responsible for finance must submit a report of the previous year to Parliament detailing what accrued to the state in terms of the petroleum funds and how this amount was used. And so, Mr. Speaker, I'm only presenting a report detailing what was accrued to the state and how we actually utilize the resources. Mr. Speaker, the next one happens to be the public debt report, the annual public debt report, which is largely informing Parliament, Ghana's public debt situation. And Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to inform the House that Ghana, for the first time since 2013, have achieved a moderate risk of debt distress from unsustainable debt to high risk of debt distress and now a moderate risk of debt distress. And so it's only, all the details are in the report, and accordingly the committee will discuss that.
That's the Finance Minister, Kassiel Attoforsen.
Let's go to the phone line and speak to Jerry Ahmed Shaib. He is the second Deputy Minority Whip and MP for Wejakbawa. Welcome to News Night. I want to start with the issue you raised with what you describe as an attempt to reintroduce an e-levy through the back door by the government. I'm wondering how a decision by the Mobile Money Fintech Limited to charge 0.75% on mobile money wallet to bank transfer charges actually commiserates with a reintroduction of an e-levy.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to you and your listeners. First of all, I'm surprised that you are wondering. I do not know what you're wondering about, but the point is that whatever charges which were there at a particular point in time, that this government came in, made a lot of promises to the Ghanaian people and said to them that they were going to remove e-levy. What was the charge about? Or what was those levies on? They were on the usage of Momo. So you use Momo and you pay, I think, a CD on whatever amount you transferred. I'm not too sure exactly about the amounts involved, but it was a CD that was levied on Momo users. Now, the MPP even saw the need to be transparent with the Ghanaian people. They saw the need to respect the legislature and therefore came to Parliament, had to go through all the considerations, made a lot of stakeholder engagement before they went through with this e-levy. President Mahama and his team, one of their major promises was to come and remove e-levy. They actually came and found means to say, okay, we have removed e-levy, there is no e-levy. Then you come, and this one, you are even doing it from the backside. You are going through the wrong channel to reintroduce e-levy, and this is how you are going to do it. And you are using a private company, as it were, to join forces with, to come and impose another levy on the Ghanaian people, which is 0.75. And what was it on? On Momo charges, on Momo transfer, on Momo transactions.
But Mr. Shaib, you know that the e-levy is different from this transfer charges that Mobile Money Fintech Limited wanted to introduce. The e-levy was supposed to go to the government. This is a charge which was supposed to be imposed by a private company. Government doesn't come in here.
Is that not even worse? Is that not the reason for you to even be more worried that government is actually combining efforts with a private institution or a company to reap the Ghanaian people of so much amount of money, then they will go and sit in their homes and share? Is that not why you should be worried? Is that not the reason for us to even interrogate it more? And who is fintech? And why is the Bank of Ghana now the one writing that they will engage people some more? Is Bank of Ghana a private institution? This is a government that is full of scam, and you don't want us to tell you.
Mr. Ahmed, is that also not a cause for concern that the minority sees this as a comparison with the e-levy charges that were introduced by the erstwhile government, when this, like my colleague mentioned earlier to you, is by a private company, and with the e-levy, it was by government across all networks. This is just by the Mobile Money Fintech.
But that's the point. Who's got oversight on fintech? Who's got oversight on telephonic companies? Why is Bank of Ghana the one now intervening? That's the point I'm asking. That's the question I'm asking. If it is fintech, if it is your private institution and you are running a facility like this and you want to introduce, or if I'm selling tomatoes and I want to add 50 pesos to the tomato and say a basket of tomato cost 50 cedis or 51 cedis and I'm adding 1 cedis to it to make it 52 cedis. Is it not my private thing I'm doing? Can Bank of Ghana come and ask me to stop doing it?
But we've seen examples of government interventions in private businesses. Not long ago, transport operators threatened to increase their prices. They met with government. Government explained to them the circumstances under which they should not increase, and they obliged to it. So how novel is this? This has happened before, so this is not something new. Government intervening.
And I'm grateful that you even made. I'm grateful that you made the intervention that government actually did not. It wasn't an instruction. This is government saying, if you have a copy of the Bank of Ghana's release, I think that would help us in this discussion. But they come out to say that they are stopping and they want to do further engagements before they proceed or otherwise. How are they the same? They are not Evans. They are not. So let me try and get you a copy of, let me read through and let's find out if we are talking about the same things. Just a second, please. And if with your permission, I read. It says suspension of proposed 0.75% wallet to bank transfer fee pending further consultation. The Bank of Ghana informs the public that the Mobile Money Fintech Limited has been directed to pause the implementation of its proposed 0.75% fee on direct wallet to bank transfers. The fee was scheduled to take effect on 1st June 2026. But it is now on hold to allow for further consultation. The decision reflects our commitment to ensuring that any changes to charges in the mobile financial services ecosystem are introduced fairly to protect consumers and also support their financial well-being. And issued Communications Department, the Bank of Ghana. The long and short of it is that this is a government that has always given reasons to. They have been a walking contradiction. They've always promised one thing and done the other. They talked about coming to clear off a lot of taxes. They came back with the energy sustainability or whatever reform levy, and we know. So you have to pay on every fuel you buy at least a cedi. Now, that was virtually to bring in some. I just heard the Minister of Finance talking about how there is this petroleum holding fund and how they need to account for same. And you're asking yourself, what was the premise or the purpose for which this levy was introduced, which is the Dumso levy? That to ensure that there won't be Dumso.
So what's the minority's next line of action now that you are calling this a subtle reintroduction of e-levy? It's been suspended, yes, but what are you going to do next?
Well, but if it's not a matter of the suspension, it's a matter of the inconsistency and the scam. Else, we wouldn't have any reason to talk about it. That you can't come and approbate and reprobate. You can't be a walking contradiction. Let your inconsistency stop. For instance, you say that there is not going to be betting tax. But Evans, I'm a president of Weightlifting Federation. I know that when you go to the sports fund, one of the ways to raise revenue is through the betting tax. So you're asking yourself, what is happening to us? What's all this facade? What's all this scam? You promised the Ghanaian people that you were coming to do a whole lot of things. With 24-hour economy, we're going to see 133. We are not seeing it. Women's Bank, we are not seeing it. Teacher Dabre, we are not seeing it. Even President even promised. In fact, the latest one I saw had to do with the banks that had been shut down or closed down and that they were going to pay depositors their funds. You remember President used the word shall.
Right, Jari Ahmed Shaibu, thank you very much for your time this evening. He's the second Deputy Minority Whip in Parliament.
Investigators probing the deadly Tema microlight crash say the pilot's continuous use of mobile phone communication while airborne became a dangerous distraction in the moments leading to the tragedy that killed 2 people. The Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau said although the aircraft suffered engine failure linked to poor maintenance practices, Findings from the probe also pointed to pilot's distraction as a critical contributory factor in the crash. Delivering the report today, the Bureau's head of investigation, Captain Kojo, said evidence gathered during the probe exposed a dangerous mix of mechanical negligence and pilot distraction that ultimately ended in disaster.
The decision also to have non-pilots seated at the pilot station and the qualified pilot seated in the rear, which denied the pilot full access to switches and instrumentation required for the operation of the aircraft, especially in emergencies, was noted with concern by the investigation. The disregard of the possible consequences of the white smoke emanating from the engine after the first short flight at home, the cursory inspection of the engine coolant following the engine overheat in flight, the non-reference to professional maintenance action or opinion, and the decision not to wait for the engine to cool down prior to the subsequent flight were indicative to the investigation of a likely lack of understanding of the severity of the engine fault or a reflection of the non-compliance of the pilot to standard operating procedures. The investigation noted that during pre-flight operations, transit checks, pre-departure checks, and during the flight from Ho to Accra, the pilot engaged in the non-operational use of his personal cell phone at different periods. The pilot's personal texting activities were a possible source of distraction and interruptions. These distractions, coupled with his lack of full access to the instruments and switches due to his seating position, would have been a challenge to his ability to perform efficiently.
My colleague Collins from Pond joins me in studio with excerpts of the report. Collins, what does the report say about the flight history, including attempted emergency landing?
So the Accra radar captured the aircraft from 60 to 10 nautical miles from Accra, flying at different altitudes between 3,400 feet and 100 feet. While flying over Tema Township, witnesses observed the aircraft flying at a low altitude. The pilot was seen in an attempt to signal to school children playing on their school field to vacate the field and enable the aircraft make an emergency landing. Unfortunately, the school children misunderstood the intentions of the aircraft and happily waved back at the aircraft and continue playing on the field. The attempted landing was therefore aborted. During the subsequent forced landing attempts, the aircraft was observed in a left bank altitude shortly before it lost control and impacted the ground within the premises of a TA daycare school in Community 1 in Tema.
Thank you very much. Also, the Bureau makes some 4 recommendations. What are they saying?
So, the Civil Aviation Authority should review its oversight of general aviation aircraft operations and ensure approved maintenance providers' details are documented by the authority. They also recommend that the authority should consider the establishment of a procedure to advise Air Traffic Control and the Ghana Airports Company Limited on flight payments issued to Ghanaian registered general aviation aircrafts, including private-owned aircraft. The third one is that the air traffic controls should ensure that all the staff are aware of the requirements in the aircraft and the Aircraft Accidents and Incidents Investigation Prevention Bureau Act 2020 at 1028 Section 22 Subsection 1C. And the last one is that the aircraft operators, including general aviation operators, must continuously adhere to or comply with all conditions of any permit authorizations granted them by the regulator to promote aviation safety.
You had my colleague Collins with that report or essence of the report from that investigations. Let's engage aviation analyst Dr. Yakubu Akparibo on this incident. Welcome to the news. What do you make of the findings from the incident?
Okay. Good evening, good evening to you and your listeners, and thank you for having me. So the findings pretty much enumerates most of the causes of aviation accidents, and most of the 3 components of causes of aviation accidents is into play in this one. So one is the human factors aspect, which is the distraction of the pilot by texting whilst in control, and then the other one is the mechanical failure, which is like the engine failure that the investigators found. So I think pretty much these are mostly the cause of aviation accidents. And the last one is mostly the systems around aviation.
How does the phone communication issue come in here when we are told that this incident happened because of mechanical issues?
Yeah, so in aviation, what we don't want to see is distraction, which normally will lead to what we call situational awareness, loss of situational awareness. So when you lose power or when the engine of an aircraft fails, the aircraft doesn't just drop onto the ground. If you are a pilot, what you need to do is to do what we call gliding. You fly the aircraft without power, and then you get a place that is clear to land. So probably if the pilot wasn't distracted, he could have initiated these procedures early instead of then getting to where, like a public space that there were school children there that they couldn't glide down.
At a point, we are told that they tried to communicate with these school children, but they misunderstood the intentions of the pilot, and they waved back when he was trying to signal to them to move from the area. What does this say about what is happening in the sky relative to what is happening on the ground and the communication between the two sides?
Yeah, so for sure, the school children on the ground misinterpreted the signal that the pilot was giving them, which, and the pilot, in this case, I would say is a hero because he tried to maneuver away from where the school children were. And then unfortunately, he clipped, I think, some trees and then buildings and then crashed. So it was more of a miscommunication. The children, I wouldn't blame, didn't know that, they were very excited seeing like an aircraft, which is normally the situation in Ghana, where more of them say a third world country. So people see aircraft and then they get very excited. So the children, when they saw that, I think they probably thought the pilot was just waving them, and that was more of a miscommunication. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Dr. Yakubu Akbaribo is an aviation expert.
And to a rather disturbing story this evening, 12 people have been confirmed dead following a fatal accident involving an Akumadan-bound passenger bus and an articulated truck. 2 others are in critical condition at the Nkinkenso Government Hospital. Eyewitnesses say the minibus with registration number BK2913-13 was overtaking another vehicle near the district assembly when it collided with a trailer truck registered GT 9771-25. Medical officials have confirmed the deaths of 12 passengers on the bus, which was traveling from Kumasi to Akumadan. Authorities are appealing to the public to help identify the victims. My colleague Erastus Asare Donko made that story available to us. He's joining us on Zoom with more details. Erastus, what more can you tell us about this disturbing story?
So in the early hours of today, we had that information that this minibus was traveling from Kumasi to Akumadan, just a little distance after Nkinkenso, close to the district assembly. It was overtaking a Sanyong vehicle and ended up facing the oncoming articulated truck head-on. And so it was a head-on collision. And if you see the mangled vehicles, the bodies of 12 persons who were on board the minibus have been displayed at the Nkinkenso Government Hospital. And doctors are trying to get the public to come in and identify them. 2 who survived are in a critical condition. We can listen to an eyewitness who explained what happened to us.
Around do something or not me were doing. I'm at the final. Car kɛseɛ no na ɛno no free 30 mile na ɛba ɛna na ketewa wei no efiri Kumase na ɛba na saa car na Stambek no na san obi di n'anim etika oyo overtaking ayɛ dɛ afa car no nti oyo ayi no san na edi n'akyi no ɛbɔ brake na oyi fa ho na go edi to the speed ɛna ɔde bia kwa no nkyɛn na trader no de hwii no nkyɛn mu na ɛbaya mu nipa nyinaa car wei so de mu nipa nyinaa kyakɔ nipa mu tim survive yɛ driver ni ɛne akra na ni moja saha no omo nkwa ne team survival wo car ketewa ni ti de esi ya no car we no e ya mfum so car ketewa no overtaking na oye no na ano e the speed na okọ na ano e de na oye overtaking di si car kese no di car kese ne ye na dwen se obesegu omo wa anye yie na akofa ba ti nipa wo car ni me de omo nyina wu nipa two penalty na survival right now na mo hanso se na mo feel me de I want say me na me te kwan no ho me patro me ye adwuma ti me na me te kwan no me dia me te ya ni say Jesus omo ka ni mutia mu Jesus eno an me hu ya na ha nyina akosoro ntina ye me wo hye ya na say moja ni tu sa na enye ize kula na enye ize because so hwe ka ni mama bibi one ne ma very difficult na no edin
Erastus Asare Donko is still with me on Zoom. That's an eyewitness account there. Erastus, he spoke in Chi. Help us understand what he said.
So basically, he's describing the speed at which the minibus traveling from Kumasi was engaged in a try to overtake another vehicle at top speed and ended up meeting the articulated truck which was coming in from Techiman. And so the articulated truck rammed into the side of the minibus, killing the people. And he goes on to say that all he heard was that the passengers were shouting, Jesus, Jesus. And then everything went down. So he says it was a very chaotic situation, very, very bad. Basically, that's what he's saying.
Erastus Asare Donko there. Thank you very much.
Government's decision to ban the production, importation, distribution, sale and use of polystyrene foam products, popularly known as styrofoam or takeaway packs, could help Ghana cut its imports bill by close to $1 million every year, according to Joy News research. The nationwide ban is expected to take effect from January 1, 2027 as part of broader efforts to tackle plastic pollution, improve sanitation and promote environmentally sustainable alternatives. But while environmental advocates have welcomed the directive, concerns are growing among food vendors, retailers and small businesses who rely heavily on takeaway packs for their daily operations. Many fear the cost of switching to alternative packaging could affect prices, profits and customer demand. Here are voices of food buyers and sellers reacting to the planned ban.
If they are banning it, what are they bringing it for us to use it? If they are bringing any different thing for us to use it, then it's fine. They can do it. But if they are not bringing anything for us to use it, then they can't. So it will be very hard because that's what we have been using. So, if they ban it, what are we going to use? We don't have anything to use. We can't tell someone to bring both from the house or something from the house. We can't. They can't carry anytime that they will be working. They will be carrying. Someone will be even carry husband. Or let's say the person is coming to buy spaghetti 15. Do you think the person is having more money to buy? I like it though. If they want to change it, they should bring solution to it.
I think it's a good idea because the takeaway packs, I think it has been choking the gutters, so it doesn't help the water to flow very well. We have these leaves that they've been using. I think that one too is healthier.
It is good that we produce them, but they can't scatter them around the street. It's better for them to make sure after using, they get a dustbin and put it inside. How come that the health hazard? Why you go to even the European unions, they use them. So for that one, I don't agree with them. It is not good for them to ban it because it's useful to the society. So you have to educate them that after using, then they deposit it.
Also, the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana believe the directive is in the right direction. John Awini is the executive chairman of the association.
has to do with the issue of health of the people. As a matter of fact, the rate of increase in cancer cases and other related diseases is of much concern. There's an evolution in the industry, and we are not saying that people should not pack, industry should not pack. I think that there are modern equipment, modern materials that are more healthy that the industry will use. And once it was announced, industry players are also very much ready to get that done. Much as we think that it may affect some jobs in the interim, and it may, because new things also always brings new shocks. Generally, the issue of environmental degradation or harm to the industry is a great national concern, because it's an attitudinal thing that we need really to cause a revolution in the country. In the sense that whether it is styrofoam packs or whatever, people just eat and throw anything anywhere or whatever not.
You had the chairman of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, John Awini. Let's go to the phone line now and speak to the ranking member on the Environment Committee of Parliament, Hamza Adam. Welcome to the news. Now, we've had the explanation given to EPA for taking this particular decision, and also the vendors are complaining. They're asking for alternative, and they're not too sure how they can go about their daily operations without the takeaway pack. How do you juxtapose the two?
Good evening to your cherished listeners. If raised a subject matter which is very critical and borders on our environmental pollution. The issue of the packs that are used, the issues that are used for packs and discharged into the environment, we all know is very, very problematic and causing serious issues in the environment. You realize that in recent times we have had to struggle with the drains in our system, partly because these packs that are discharged, they go to block the water bodies. And so you have the water overflowing the drains and causing floods. And so there must be a drastic policy intervention to see how we can clear our environment of these dangerous materials. You realize that the packs, which the popular term as the takeaway, packs, are difficult to degrade. In other words, they are not biodegradable. And so we are looking at introducing alternative methods of handling our packs, and that is to replace that with a paper, is to replace it with paper materials. And I think that the decision by the Environmental Protection Agency to wipe the environment of this dangerous material is something that, for me, I'm in full support.
On the issue of paper, some have also raised concern that we could be seeing more trees being felled so to be able to produce the paper bags. That could also pose another environmental challenge.
Yes. So if you look at a policy decision, you always have to look at the pros and cons and weigh the options and see which one is likely to cause less havoc. and which one can you manage better in the short, medium, and long term? Which one can you manage better? So if you do analysis of the havoc that these packs are posing on the environment compared to the issues that are likely to arise out of the introduction of paperwork, you would realize that the paper option is still far better than this one. Because if you look at the paper will still get, degraded and then back to the environment. And so the ecosystem reabsorbs faster, and that is better for the environment.
Thank you very much. Hamza Adam is ranking member on the Environment Committee of Parliament.
We'll read a number of the messages you've sent to our WhatsApp for you after this break, but in the meantime, let's do business. George is here.
Well, coming up in business, Mobile Money Fintech Limited promises to engage Bank of Ghana after being directed to freeze proposed fee on wallet transfers to bank accounts. And Bank of Ghana files application at Supreme Court seeking to overturn GN Savings and Loans License Restoration ruling by the Court of Appeal. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. Synthesis tanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal.
The other day, I visited Kwaku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office,
Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our Star Savers, we became number 1. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
If you want quality, this be where you belong. Hey, tough, hey, strong. Oh, gonna shout and sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break. When the rain they fall, still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start.
Sasso, si come tonton prepon. Sasso, si come tonton prepon. Edwana twamin ya buseshe. Ya hakesia ne malaria. Minya me kone me sasso spray. Every mosquito study run away. Come on tonton prepon. Sasso, mi se come tonton preko. Come tonton preko. Sasso, come tonton preko. Nani shamne die e demo strongko.
This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Mobile Money Fintech Limited has indicated that it would move to quickly engage the Bank of Ghana over its fees on wallet transfers to bank accounts. There is more in the latest response coming from managers of the mobile money platform and an earlier directive from the Bank of Ghana for the fee to be frozen.
The Mobile Money Fintech Limited is thus planning to carry out this very important engagement with the Bank of Ghana because there is the need for the fee to be introduced. Mobile Money Fintech Limited again argues that this proposed fee is to help address the growing gap in the pricing structure when customers go to an agent to do cash-in or when a customer receives funds from the interbank payment and settlement system. The fintech firm have also told Joy Business that when these customers eventually push this fund into their bank account in the current dispensation, they completely lose out. Mobile Money Fintech Limited also maintained that the fee is to correct this anomaly in line with the fee practice in the banking channel. It went ahead to state that the fee only applies to individual consumers and not to agents and merchants. The firm, however, assured that it will go ahead to fully comply with the Bank of Ghana's directive that they should freeze the introduction of this fee effective June 1 and open the door for some consultation on this issue. The Bank of Ghana in the statement maintained that their directive was also to ensure that any changes to charges in the mobile money financial services ecosystem are introduced fairly, protect consumers, and support their financial well-being.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, the Bank of Ghana has filed an application at the Supreme Court seeking to challenge ruling of the Court of Appeal on the restoration of GN Savings and Loans license. We have details in the following report.
Based on this application seen by Joy Business, the Bank of Ghana is asking the Supreme Court to set aside the judgment of Court of Appeal that sought to restore the license of GN Savings and Loans. It also wants the highest court of the land not to allow the appeal against the High Court judgment to stand and restore the High Court judgment which dismissed the case brought by GN Savings and Loans as well as its chairman Dr. Kwaku Ofosu-Asare. The application went ahead to state that the applicant, that is Dr. Kwaku Ofosu-Asare, Coconut Grove Beach Resort, and Group Indom Limited, did not comply with an earlier mandatory provision of Rule of the Court of Appeal, Rules 1997, CI 19 as amended, which stipulates that particulars of an error of the law alleged should be clearly stated in the Notice of Appeal. The application from the Bank of Ghana seen by Joy Business also went ahead to state several instances that it describes as particulars of error of law that should strengthen its case for the ruling to be dismissed.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, the Ghana Chamber of Mines is pushing for a review of the current mineral royalty structure to ensure that host communities benefit more from their activity. The Chamber argues that this might be one of the surest ways to ensure that these communities feel the impact of mining. Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Dr. Kenneth, made these proposals on Joy Business's roundtable on Ghana's mining future.
Just as we have the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, we should also have the Mining Revenue Management Act. That is really important so that we are able to direct where resources go. I just want to reiterate that in 2025, Goldfields, Anglo Gold, Iduaprim, and then Ghana Manganese paid 5.1 billion cedis to GRA in form of taxes. The question you ask is how much of that came back into the community in terms of, to be able to fund development in the community.
Engineer Kenneth is Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Mines. The National Petroleum Authority says illegal petroleum smuggling activities continue to pose a major threat to Ghana's economy and consumer safety. Speaking at the program in Tema, which was working with the security agencies to halt more smuggling, Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, Ediji Tamaklo, pledged stronger collaboration with the Ghana Navy and other security agencies to deal with the situation.
Once you allow these illegal activities, you cannot control the products that are coming in. And once contaminated, adulterated products gets into the system, consumer protection cannot be guaranteed. And so it is great concern to us. And also the issues of revenue laws. And so we are particularly interested in getting these activities minimized so as to improve revenue mobilization issues.
Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, Ediji Tamaklo. Now, Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Bedu-Abuaji, says the high energy costs continue to increase production expenses and undermine the competitiveness of Ghanaian businesses. Speaking at the launch of the Chamber's Energy and Climate Desk, he said this initiative would help businesses to access affordable energy solutions.
The cost of energy in Ghana for a typical manufacturing company is about 40% higher than that of most of our competitors. A typical case, the cost per kilowatt hour in Ghana is about 18 cents, whilst others like China and industrialized countries are doing less than 5 cents. So for businesses, it's important that we get reliable energy because it affects our cost of production. When energy prices go up, you see the cost of production also going up, making businesses highly uncompetitive and highly unprofitable. As a chamber, with most of our members in all sectors and also within the manufacturing sector, it is important that we look for energy sources that will be reliable, affordable, and also that will reduce the cost of production, making businesses also profitable. Basically, this energy desk is to provide that support services to ensure that most businesses that are using energy are efficient, also to ensure that they adopt renewable energy.
Mark Bedu-Abuaji is Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And that's all for business on Newsnight. It's time for sports, and my brother Dafia Mepo is here
George,
with the sports news
this weekend.
What are the experts saying about who's likely to lift the trophy for the Champions League?
Will you be there? Will you be at the Aviation Special Center
definitely
this weekend?
In my Arsenal jersey.
In your Arsenal jersey. I'm going to be in my... I can't wear Chelsea jersey.
And the losers,
I'm
Real
going to
Madrid.
wear... I have to wear a neutral jersey.
Chelsea.
So that whoever loses, it doesn't affect me. I'll wear a Bayern jersey. Yeah.
But I'll be supporting Arsenal, by the way.
Wow, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
So I realized that when I was against them, they won. So maybe if I support them, who knows?
And Gemma, who are you supporting this Saturday? Arsenal or PSG?
Arsenal is the winning team. So
but PSG are also winning machines. They are the defending champions of the Champions League.
Let's go with Arsenal.
They're making so because everyone is going Arsenal. Also,
let's just go with Arsenal.
I'm going with PSG. I have to be different. All right, it's now Ghana Premier League where Accra House of Folk have parted ways with head coach Masoud Didi Dramani following the end of the 2025-26 season. Now, according to the club, the decision to part ways with the former Black Galaxies gaffer was after a comprehensive tactical review conducted by the board. Now, Hearts finished third in the season and with 34 games missing out of the league title once again. Now, despite a strong performance later in the season, the club is making changes to its technical setup to align with its long-term football philosophy. Now, has expressed gratitude to Didi Dramani and his backroom staff for their professionalism, discipline, commitment, and service during the time with the club. Now, this is Didi Dramani's record in the league. He played 34 matches, won 13 games, drew 15, and lost 6, scored 25 goals, and conceded 15. So, with this record, has still feel it wasn't enough for them per their standard. They finished third in the league. And
Yeah,
because they didn't win
standards,
the
the
league.
audacity. What standards that Accra has have?
You have to allow them.
Oh, please.
So maybe they are the Real Madrid and Barcelona of our country. So you
They
have
can
to
never
respect
be.
that. Yeah.
The Real Madrid
At
of
Kotoko.
Ghana is Kotoko. You know that.
And the Barcelona of Ghana is what, Gemma?
I don't know. Maybe the Arsenal of Ghana, maybe.
Or has. Yeah. Anyway, so that's it for the sports. But Gemma, will you be at the Social Aviation Center this weekend?
Obviously.
Wearing your Arsenal kit.
Arsenal
All right.
But anyway, Arsenal.
That's it for sports, Kenneth.
Thank you very much. And as Ghana marks Blue Day, government is vowing zero tolerance for traffickers preying on children with fake football dreams. The push comes as Ghana marks World Day Against Traffic in Persons, or Blue Day, on July 30th. Speaking at the media launch, the Gender Minister Agnes Latte said authorities will not tolerate the exploitation of vulnerable children.
Football and athletics continue to represent aspirations and opportunities for many young people and their families. Unfortunately, traffickers and exploiters are increasingly taking advantage of these dreams.
That's the gender minister there, Agnes Momo Latte. And Prophet Wisdom in Ketu South says, John Mahama and his NDC-led government think Ghanaians have short memories. While in opposition, they criticized the MPP government for introducing the e-levy. Now they want to reintroduce it. And Wisdom from Amasaman says the MPP is just making unnecessary noise regarding the government's directive to suspend the charges meant to be introduced by a private company. And Wilfred from Achimota says, Momo FinTech proposed WTB fee. Is this MPP minority in Parliament serious or joking? And Nane Ekwiyamwa Boatin from Ablekuma Central says, I must commend the mighty minority in Parliament for standing and defending ordinary Ghanaians against this insensitive and wicked government which sought to exploit the poor through the backdoor introduction of this levy. Francis from Accra says, to those at the Ministry of Finance and the BOG trying to introduce the 0.75% charge on Momo wallet to bank transfer should be careful, as this will affect the fortunes of the NDC going into the 2028 elections. And that brings us to the end of Newsnight. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. I'm Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma Appiah.
Don't forget to do the 2 this evening. Brush your teeth day and night with Pepsodent. Have a good evening.